Welcome to Module 2 of the QuickBooks Accounting Software training and installation. We just finished Module 1, which we covered installation and setup. And so now we are on Module 2, which is defining the chart of accounts in QuickBooks. My name is LilianKatiso. I'm a financial management consultant and QuickBooks trainer. In Module 2, we're going to define the chart of accounts. We're going to show you how to set up preferences to further customize your QuickBooks to meet your needs. We're going to show you how to set up opening balances. We're going to show you how to start customize your chart of accounts to suit your needs, and also how to activate chart of account codes. What I'm going to do is to share the QuickBooks screen because it's a practical session. I'm going to share my QuickBooks screen so that I can take you through the step-by-step process of this. So I'm sharing my QuickBooks screen to take you through Module 2, which is defining the chart of accounts, but also it starts with the setting up preferences, and then we proceed on to the chart of accounts. Okay. Now, on your left-hand side, let me just highlight that for you. On the left-hand side here, you see there is a file. Okay, there are these tabs up here. So there's a file, there's edit, there is all these other ones. So on the file tab, we discussed this on the first Module 1. Now on Module 2, what you're going to do is go through your preferences, okay? How do you set up preferences in QuickBooks so that you are able to customize QuickBooks for your needs, okay? Just going to take you through that. So now when you open the preferences section, the first one is accounting, okay? So when you click on accounting, it gives you preferences that are my preferences, your preferences that you want to use as a user of QuickBooks, and there's the company preferences. So let's start with my preferences. One of the things that QuickBooks allows is autofill memo in the general journal entry. Autofilling means that if you had raised a similar journal, it is going to automatically fill the previous data that you have. So sometimes you may want to have that one inactive so that you're aware of what you're filling. You are not on autopilot mode. When you go to company preferences, we're going to activate the use of account codes, okay? If you've ever wondered, if you've used QuickBooks before and you're wondering, how come I am not able to get the account codes? This is where the account codes are activated. So you tick that you want to use account numbers, that is the account codes, and you can also choose that you require account codes. And you can also show the lowest sub-account only. Now, when you use account codes, as I'm going to show you when you're doing the chart of accounts, you can have subcategories. It's like having subsets of the accounts, okay? So if you have subsets, so there will be the ones that can be summarized, like the key headers. You say, like, you have revenues, you have the cost of sales, then you have your overhead costs, okay? But within each of them, there are subdivisions, like what are the things that are bringing revenues? What are the nature of your cost of sales? What are the different items that define your overhead costs? Okay, we're going to look at that. Then also what you need to activate is the class function. Now the class function, this is what helps you to segment QuickBooks, and we're going to cover that in Module 3, okay? So here we're just activating it so that it is active. Then you can choose to have general journal numbers automatically assigned. This means that if you've assigned number 1, when you go to raise another journal, automatically it will go to number 2. But if in your company you have predefined numbers, I've seen some people who the payroll journals had different serials from other maybe stock adjustment journals, then you can actually type those ones in. But some people just want to have them chronologically numbered, okay? Now, okay, yeah, so when posting transactions in retained earnings, this is very, very important because the retained earnings account is the account that QuickBooks uses to close the year. At the end of the year, you've closed your profit and loss. The profit or loss therein is what is posted to retained earnings. So you don't want to just post things there by mistake, okay? So that's why you need a warning on that, because you might be having more than one user. then QuickBooks automatically warns you if you're posting transactions that look like they're for a long time ago. So you can set up that if you're posting a transaction of more than 90 days, it warns you. You can lower this to 30, whatever you prefer. If you're posting a transaction 30 days in the future, it will warn you that you're post-dating your check for more than, just so that you are in the now. You're not posting wrong information because a wrong date or a future date. For example, now we're in January 2023. You might find because of default 2022 for a long time, someone might end up putting the date, but then the year is the wrong year. Then the system will automatically alert you that, yes, this is not right, okay? So those are some of the things that you go through in the settings. Then in the banking section, yes, it asks you if you want to save the changes. If you want to use them, you say yes, you want to save the changes. Then in the banking section, also it has my preferences. Under my preferences, you can choose to open the write checks, open the pay bills window, and make deposits. Now, these ones, you can tailor depending on the bank accounts that you have set up, which you have not yet set up the bank accounts. So this is not applicable for now, but you can always come back to it in future. Company preferences, you can choose to print account names on vouchers, okay? Or you can choose to change an uncleared checks date when required to be printed. This one assumes that you're printing checks of QuickBooks, which of course in Uganda we do not do. So it may not be applicable for you. Start with the payee field on checks by default. Normally that's the best practice. So it will be showing the payee field. Then we are ticking to warn about duplicate check numbers. Because if you duplicate check numbers, it means it could be an error, and you want to reduce on such errors. So it reminds you, are you sure you want to post a duplicate check, which I doubt you would want to. But also it will autofill account number in check memo if that payee is your constant payee. But you can choose to deactivate that as well. Okay. Now, the payroll items, we are not using that because they're separate subscriptions. So we're not going to go through that. Under bills, you can activate and define when your bills fall due. Okay, do the bills fall due 10 days? So assume that you have a supplier that gave you 30 days credit or 15 days credit. That is what you choose to put here, because now that goes into your, when you do your cash flow projection, and on your payables, it will show you this one's overdue, this number of days, okay? But also you can choose for QuickBooks to warn you about duplicate bill numbers from the same supplier. Of course, you'll have duplicate bill numbers from different suppliers. I mean, a supplier might have invoice number 10 and another supplier also has different invoice number 10. But even if it's the same supplier that you're posting invoice number 10 from, then of course that sounds like an error and QuickBooks will warn you on that. There's a calendar function. The calendar function, you can choose your preferences that the calendar reminds you of different things that you want to do. You put reminders, let's say, for entering some journals. So there are things that you want to do weekly, daily, weekly, monthly. So you can choose to customize that, okay? And also it gives you reminders of upcoming things that you need to do, and you can choose when it should remind you. And then you have your company preferences. For calendar, there are no options for that. Desktop view. Yes, how you view the things on your desktop. Yeah, you can tailor make that as well to your preference. Okay, do you want to see them on one window, on multiple windows? You can be able to choose that. And you can choose to save when closing a company. Now, it is good if you choose to save when closing a company so that you don't have an event of data loss. I've seen sometimes people just continue working without saving, and then something happens. Unfortunately, a system crashes and they can't retrieve any of the previous data. So when you keep on saving, it saves your data, okay? Yes, so all these are different customization things that you can go through. How you want your icons to be set up, the background color, really, these are really personal preferences that you can choose to work on, okay? In terms of the company preferences, you can choose how to select the features that you want to show on the home page. So all these are ticked, the invoices, the sales, the statements, and the bills. I've seen sometimes someone is telling me, I can't see the feature for sales receipt. It's because in preferences here, it's not been ticked to show on the homepage, and that's why you're not able to see it, okay? So most of the time, if you can't find something, you'll have to come to the preferences and check, has it been unticked? Because if it is unticked, you will not see it on the homepage. So you have to be able to come here and check them out. Finance charge. In Uganda, not many people do that, but in case you need to do that, maybe you're a financial institution or something. There are people who charge interest, finance charge. Let's say you've agreed that you're charging the customer credit days you've given them is 30, but the customer has defaulted. There's some people who put a finance charge for every day after the 30 days of default, you put a percentage. If you so wish to use that feature, you can try it out. On the general setup, yeah, so press enter, moves to the next field, or automatically open drop-down list when typing, beep when recording transactions. I normally like these transactions. Especially when you're working in a group of people, you know, the person who is working, you keep on hearing beep, 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 as they post their transactions. Yeah, but you can choose if the noise is annoying, you can choose not to have the beep. But I think most people just have it there. Yeah, automatically place decimal point. Yeah, for Uganda, most of the time you'll find the transactions. Apart, if you're using multi-currency, of course you have the foreign currency having decimal points. Ugandan currency is yeah, the numbers are very generous, so most of the time they don't use the decimal point. So all these functions can be activated. You can bring back all time messages. You can turn off pop-up messages. So you can really tailor this to your personal. When you say my preference, it means personal preferences, okay? Automatically remember account numbers on transaction information, automatically recall last transaction of for this same. So assuming that you bought a particular supply from a particular supplier, so the next time that you are writing a transaction for that particular supplier, it will bring a reminder, or it will autofill with the previous transaction detail. But in case maybe it's a different thing you're buying, you want to be conscious that you don't go on autopilot mode and make errors, okay? Then you can also use default dates for your new transactions. So what happens is you can choose to use today's date, okay? So every time you open and start entering data, it uses today's date. But most of the time we have QuickBooks using the last entered date as a default. So assuming that that's where you stopped and now you're resuming from there. But you can always change the dates, okay? Keep custom item information when changing item in transactions. So you can choose to always ask so that you're consciously making the decision. On company preferences, we went through that. So you can choose how your decimal points look like, okay? And also manage login settings, log off every time a user closes the company or exits QuickBooks. If you want to keep logged in, you can choose how long you want to keep logged in. I don't think you want to keep logged in for 2 days or many days like that, because if you keep logged in for that long without logging off, it means that someone can come and enter transactions without your knowledge. So I prefer choosing the first option of log off every time the user exits QuickBooks. Okay, yeah, I have to save the general preferences. Now there is integrated applications. So QuickBooks allows you to integrate other apps. If you have external apps that you want to integrate with QuickBooks, I have some clients who are integrating with either a school module that they're using, or maybe it's a client management module that they're using, some other external things that they're using for their business, for their specific industry. You can allow that to be integrated at this point, okay? So it means that you can allow access, and then when you allow access, you have an option here where it will bring the thing that is asking for access will be listed here. The app rather that is asking for access is going to be listed here, and you have to accept or reject, okay? Yeah. Then items of stock, yes. Now, if stock is not activated, you will not be able to use stock function. So it's important if at the time of setup, is a setup interview, you hadn't activated the stock, you can always come here and activate the stock. So stock and purchase orders are active. One about duplicate purchase order numbers, I think that's just good. And then one if there's not enough stock. Okay. So whenever you're selling, QuickBooks warns you when you don't have enough stock, but also you can choose it to warn you when your stocks are running low. Okay. So when the quantities I sell exceeds the quantity on hand, when the quantity I sell exceeds quantity available, you can choose which warnings that you want to have. Job estimates, you can be able to track if you have pending jobs, awarded jobs, in progress, closed, and all those different things. You can create that and follow for your business if applicable. And it can also warn you when you have duplicate numbers. Multi-currency. In the event that at the time of setup, you had not activated multi-currency, this is where you come and activate multi-currency. As you can see right now, the multi-currency is running, and the home currency is Uganda shillings, UGX. Okay. On payments, you can have automatically applying. So these are payments against invoices. So what QuickBooks does is when you receive a payment against invoice, it automatically applies the one that is older, the oldest invoice, or it looks at the one that has the exact amount of money and assumes that's what the client was paying off. Now, if that's not the case, then you have to manually assign them and not automatically apply the payments. Now, by default, QuickBooks assumes that whenever you receive money, it goes to undeposited funds and waits for you to bank it. So by default, QuickBooks is going to have money going to undeposited funds until you're able to debank it. If you want to be able to sign a bank account at the time of receiving the money or making the deposit, receiving the money, or receiving a payment from the check, then you untick this one so that you can choose it to go to a particular bank account directly. But if you do a lot of cash sales, which means you hold undeposited funds and then someone counts the money or collects the checks and goes to bank them, then it's recommendable that you use this. I have this activated so that you can stick off the bankings for the day, and then you actually do the banking from undeposited funds to the bank. And also it helps you to know what has not yet been banked, what has not been deposited. The payroll function we are not using because it's a separate subscription, so I'm not going to go into that. QuickBooks has a reminders option, so you can choose to have reminders remind you to do whatever you want to be able to do. Create invoices. If you have, for example, your business runs subscription-based service. So for example, Zaddock Associates, we sell QuickBooks Accounting Software. So which means the subscription for the QuickBooks Online falls due the 1st of every month, okay? So that means it's a recurrent thing. So you can actually have QuickBooks remind you for those recurrent transactions, okay? Reports and graphs, yes, QuickBooks has reports and graph that it can generate for you. By default, because we had chosen accrual basis, so it will give you on accrual basis, but you can, if you are for one reason or another, you want cash basis, you can always ask for a cash basis report as well. And you can always tailor the reports as they come out, name only or description, and name and description. You can tailor all those things. The aging report, you can age from due date or from transaction date. So most of them are aging from due date, but you can choose to age from transaction date. That is why setting the due date is very, very important, as you earlier saw. Then statement of cash flows, you can click here to assign accounts sections of the cash flow that you want. If you want it different from what QuickBooks has already provided, you can always tailor it to your preference. And you can format your reports further to what you need, okay? Now, the QuickBooks has balance sheet formats. There's a UK balance sheet format, which is standard. And then there's a QuickBooks standard balance sheet format. You can look at either of them and see which one you prefer, but most of them are defaulted to UK balance sheet standard. Sales and customers, yes. So you can customize these ones to if you have shipping methods, you can choose which kind of shipping methods that you use. So they're listed there, but if the one you have is not listed there, you can always add new. And then you can define all these other different parameters. You can choose the different templates that you want. You can enable collection centers. There's a lot of details that you can customize to your business. There's a search function that you can use for searching different things in QuickBooks, different transactions that you have. You can, when QuickBooks does update, it can also update the features of QuickBooks. If there are any new updates, they can update it for you, and you can keep on checking that. So you can set up the updates to happen, how often you want updates to happen in QuickBooks. Send forms, you can choose if you want to be emailing your invoices, you can choose that you want invoices emailed, and you put the email address for where you want them to be sent. So you can see then there's a service connection. This one works if you have QuickBooks connected to other QuickBooks services, okay? For example, the payroll, or if it's connected to the bank. And in this case, because we're not connecting to those other services, we're not going to go through that. And you have a spell check as well in QuickBooks that you can set your personal preferences for, yeah? QuickBooks can give you a spell check during the time when you're typing your invoices on your receipts. You can do a spell check, but if there's something, every time you type it in, QuickBooks tells you this is wrong or something like that, you can add the word here so that they change, they don't keep on alerting you at the spell check. Time and expenses. Time and expenses, you can do a time tracker. We already activated that. If you want to change it, you can change that as well. But as you generate reports, the weekly report, you can choose when your week starts. Does it start on a Sunday? Does it start on a Monday? I've seen those two variations. Some people's week starts on Mondays. Some people's week start on Sundays. You can choose how you want that to happen. And then VAT, you can choose which VAT codes apply to you if you want to edit. If it's applicable to your entity, we can be able to do that. So that is the settings section, setting preferences in QuickBooks. And so you can always, as you can see, there's a lot of options for you to consider. There's a lot of options for you to consider. So what I also want to show you is how to set up the passwords and the users. So you come here to company. Under company, there are many different things that you can do, but I want us to go here to set up users and passwords. So under users and passwords, you can change your password, you can manage your login and all those different things. Let us click set up users and password. If you have more than one user, you can up here add a user, okay? So when you add a user, then you can define what's the name of this user. So assuming the username in this case is my name, Lilian, and I put the password, I confirm the password, oops. Then I proceed. Now I can choose this user should be able to access all areas of QuickBooks. It means they can do everything. Or you can choose that they can access selected areas of QuickBooks. Assuming we go with the selected areas of QuickBooks because maybe they're your assistant or something like that, then you can choose the areas that they have access to or not. So on sales and accounts receivable, if you want them to have no access, if you want them to have full access, or if you want them to have selective access, then you choose what you selectively want them to be able to do, okay? So you continue like that for all the other things, purchases and accounts payable, bank and credit cards, what you want them to be able to do, stock, time tracking, payroll, there's a thing called VAT, sensitive areas of QuickBooks. So if you just say no access, no access, no access, no access, of course, you can choose full access and all those different things. What will happen is once you finish setting up this particular person, it will show you that access user Lilian these are the things that they are being given yes to. So they have yes to sales and accounts receivable, but they cannot print it. They cannot do all these other different things, okay? So if you want to define user level, that's where you go and you define the user levels and the passwords, okay? Now, once you've defined the user levels and passwords, there is here where you can set a closing date. So you set a closing date so that no one can go and edit edit transactions that you have already posted, okay? So you can choose that after this particular date, let's say we've done audit for the year 2022. So as at end of December 2022, we don't want anything to be changed. So which means you put a password and confirm the password. So QuickBooks recommends that you put this one so that the only person who can change is the person with the password, if they have to change, of course. So which means the person without the password cannot change, and assume that will be the administrator. Okay, so now let's go to how you define the chart of accounts. So the chart of accounts is here on the home page. So you can access it from the home page, but you can also access it from the accountant center. There are different places you can access it to, even from the company center or the company drop down. You can see the chart of accounts there at the drop down. But it's easier also to access just from here, from the home page. When you click on the chart of accounts, it gives you what we had accepted as a default chart of accounts, okay? Now, these ones can be edited. So you can see our home currency is Uganda shillings. You can see the chart of accounts, the codes are being activated and the account names are there. So QuickBooks, you can have your chart of accounts arranged by type. So here it starts with the most illiquid assets, the balance sheet items. Yeah, it starts with the balance sheet items, continuing down. Just show you. Okay, so you'll see these are more your balance sheet items. So the fixed asset accounts, the accounts payable, other current liabilities, you have your equity accounts, you have your income accounts, cost of goods sold account, and the expense account. Now, all the other accounts that you might need that are not there, you can add them, and I'm going to show you how to add them. On this other side, you see the account numbers are there, and then the account names are there. So you can choose the digits, however many digits you want for your account codes, whether it's alphanumeric, whether it's purely numeric, you can choose how you want it, okay? So how then do you set up, add a new, so for example, want to add a new bank account, okay? So when you want to add a new bank account, you have an option. I mean, you want to add a new account item in the chart of accounts, which in this case, I'm saying I want to add a bank account, okay? You go at the bottom here, there is account, then there is new. So when you click new, it gives you an option of defining the category of what you want to do. Do you want to add an income account, an expense account, a fixed asset account, a bank account, a loan account, a credit account, an equity account, or other types of accounts are also available here on the drop-down. Accounts receivable, other current assets, other assets, accounts payable, other current liabilities, long-term liabilities, cost of goods sold, other income, and other expenses. So in this case, assume I want to set up a bank account. As you can see, we didn't have any bank account. So the beauty of QuickBooks is when you choose that I want to set up a bank account, it tells you, yes, if you want to set up a bank account, you can create each of these as a cash. I mean, each of these accounts as well, petty cash account, current account, savings account. And if you want to learn more, you click on more, okay? So when you click on more, it gives you other things that you can do, okay? When would I add a bank account? And then it gives you all this literature that you can read. You should separate bank accounts, how you can separate the bank accounts. It gives you all those different things and how to go through that to get the information. So in this case, I'm going to set up a bank account. I've clicked set up a bank account. So I choose the account type is bank account. It has chosen for me, but you can always, if you want to change, you can change any other one. But in this case, I want to set up a bank account. So I want to give it a number. Let me give it 1,000 because we're in the 4-digit series, and I want to call it, we have Absa Bank. Okay, Absa Bank, you can have Absa Bank's UGX. Okay, it can stand alone. They have to be a bank, what do you call it, a sub account of another one. Then you make sure that the currency, remember we had activated multi-currency, so the currency, you have to make sure the currency is appropriate for the bank account that you've chosen. Okay, then you put the description. What is this bank account for? Is it for operations or for what purposes? And then you put the bank account number. Now so when you're entering this new account in your chart of account, you have an option of entering the opening balances, and you choose here, you click there, opening balances, and you say, what opening balance did you have in this particular bank account? So remember, our opening financial year for this file, we said is January, okay? Which means therefore the ending balance for 31st of December becomes the opening balance for January. So I'll put, let's assume that we had 10 million, is that 10 million? Okay, we had 10 million, okay, as at 31st of December, 2022. Okay, that becomes my opening balance. Rather, the closing balance of that becomes my opening balance in the next month. These are the details. If you want to add them, you can add them. Then I say save and close. Now, what you will notice is automatically now I have, just show you, it can. I have an opening balance of 10 million, okay, in the Uganda shilling Absa Bank UGX. But what if you notice is double entry does happen automatically. So here, the equity account has also been credited by an equal amount, 10 million, okay? So the equity account is a capital share account. If you want to know more about the account, you just right hand click on it, edit, to read what the account stands for. This equity account is the opening balances. This is where the opening balances during setup are posted to this account. The balance of this account should be 0 after completing the setup. So normally when you're doing the opening balance setup, we recommend that you use your balance sheet. So you get your reconciled balance sheet for the previous financial year of the one you're starting with, then you enter them. Once you enter them, that equity account is going to what? Is going to end up being what? It's going to end up being 0. As long as after you finish entering your opening balances, there's an amount there, you know something is not right, okay? So which means, therefore, for the asset accounts, you're going to debit the respective asset account and you're going to credit the equity account, the share capital equity account. Sometimes we recommend that you can change the name to make it easy for you to call it opening balances. Actually, some other versions of QuickBooks just call it opening balances account. So let me show you how you can edit a chart of account item. So we're editing that one. We don't want to call it share capital account because it is confusing. So we're going to call it, I want to call it opening balances control account. Opening balances control. Okay, so now I know that all my opening balances are going to go there. Okay, so you see the name has changed, opening balances account. Okay, so this account, by the time I bring all my opening balances, this account should end up being 0. Okay, so the debits, the assets, you'll be debiting the asset account, it credits this. If you're bringing in liability accounts, it means you're crediting the liability accounts and debiting the opening balance equity account. If you're bringing in other equity accounts, you're crediting the equity account and debiting this particular equity account. So that whole process, if your balance sheet had balance, the one you're bringing in, will make sure that your opening balance account is 0. And you know you have completed your opening balance exercise, okay? So let me show you how to enter a bank account that is another currency. So we are, okay, so you can go through account, okay, as I showed you before, and new. But because there are many ways to kill a rat, as they say, you can also be here on the chart of accounts and right-hand click anywhere on the chart of accounts and do new, okay? So I'm going to enter another bank account. So I choose bank, I do continue, but this time I want to enter account number 101, and I want to call it Absa, but this ABSA, it's a USD account, okay? So which means I have to remember that the currency here is USD, okay? Then I enter opening balances. Now I am going to put the value in dollars. I'm going to put the value in dollars. So assume I had $10,000 in that account. As at which date? 31st of December, 2022. What was the exchange rate as at 31st of December, 2022? Assuming it was 3,800, okay? The exchange of $1 to Uganda shilling, assume at that date it was 3,800. So I'll say it's okay. And I save and close. Remember to save and close. So you'll see what has happened. I have my, let me just get the highlighter here. I have the UG, the ABSA one, the ABSA UGX has 10 million. And then the ABSA dollar has $10,000. Are you seeing now the currency? The currency is US dollars, okay? This one is UGX. And the value in USD is 10. But you see what I have in my equity? It has converted the $10,000 times what rate? 3,800 to give me 38 million. So which means the 38 million plus the 10 million gives me what? 48 million. And therefore, my opening balance equity is the balancing account for those two accounts, okay? So you've seen how to set up preferences. You've seen how to edit the chart of accounts, add a new item, edit an item in the chart of accounts, and you've seen how to do what? To activate the account codes. You've seen how to enter some opening balances, okay? So those are the few that you can enter right now, but you're going to continue to enter more transactions in the next session, which is module 2, okay? So in module 2, we are going to show you how to set up cost centers and how to be able to customize your business to be able to track the profitability of each of the different segments. So thank you for watching module 2, which has been defining your chart of accounts, okay? And we are going to show you in module 3 how to take this further and how to be able to customize QuickBooks further to your needs. Thank you for watching and see you in module 3.